You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Good morning. Welcome to Catholic Chicago on WNDZ 750 AM 312-255-8408. 312-255-8408. Also get us on youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. Father Greg Sakowitz, director of the Cathedral in Chicago, and co-host, I want to say executive director, but past executive director, and now, what's your new title, Mark? I forgot.
Assistant
You're working with
to
me.
you.
Oh, yeah, okay. So assistant to the rector.
For special projects.
And my God, it's hard to believe that we go back 50 years.
Yeah.
That I met you in September of 1973.
Yeah.
I was a junior in the college seminary, Niles College Seminary of Loyola University. You were an incoming freshman. So I think we go back a half a century, and it's just amazing. The weather so far has been this week beautiful, but do pray for the people out east and those fires, those Canadian wildfires. They say there are 400 fires right now, half out of control. And just the billowing smoke is just pouring, like 80 million people on the East Coast affected. You can even see in Chicago, real high, that like layer of fog or a darkness. But out east, they say it's like orange.
Yeah, people say they can taste.
They can taste it, and burning their eyes and their lungs, and they're told they actually canceled the White Sox-Yankees game yesterday from Yankee Stadium and the Detroit Tigers at Philadelphia. The games were postponed.
So that was one less loss for the White Sox.
They've been playing good ball lately, but again, the Yankees are tough at home. We have a great program lined up again, 312-255-8408. Also get us on youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. We have a tremendous guest for the first half hour, an old friend going back many years, speaking about Niles College, Al Castillo, the director of Hispanic Communications for the Diocese of Chicago. And our topic will be Hispanic Young Adult Professional Speaker Series, aimed for college seniors and young professionals. Al, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you very much, Father Greg. I was under the impression that the Cardinal or the Vicar General was going to be doing the interview, but I'll take you
You're
guys.
stuck with us.
Yeah.
You're stuck with us.
How
And
are you? Thank
doing
you for
well.
Coming in.
Thank you for having me today.
Well, also now you host your own program.
I do.
When?
On Friday mornings.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock in the morning. It's Chicago Catholico. My co-host is Father Claudio Diaz. He's the pastor of Our Lady of the Unity in the near west side. And we've been having this Spanish language radio program since a little before 9/11. Can you believe that? So 2001.
So you're going back 22 years.
22 years. I've had a number of hosts in between. It started with the director of Hispanic ministry, Father Zeke Sanchez, and then following him was Father Claudio Diaz, and then we've had a number of other individuals that have followed. Right now, we have an interesting kind of presence in Hispanic ministry. We have the Consejo Hispano, which is coordinated by Father Sergio Rivas, and but Father Claudio has graciously given us his time and talent because he loves being the co-host of our radio program,
So
and he brings a lot of energy.
Have
to
you
that.
been the host all these years?
Yes.
So 23, almost 22 plus years.
Right.
And I was going to say, maybe share a little bit. We were speaking off the air about your background. Like, what brought you to this position?
Well, it's a long story.
Well, now, just to let our listeners know, Mark, we met Al when we started on the faculty at Niles College Seminary of Loyola in '85, and Al was a senior in the college seminary. That's where we first met Al.
Right.
And also, we played basketball against each other and softball.
I have a
and
heartwarming
football.
story
What's
about one of my first memories with Father Greg.
Okay.
Yeah. Would you like to hear it?
Sure.
Okay. So
Is it true?
It's very true.
Okay.
It's seared into my mind. It's very heartwarming.
Oh.
So, we would have these intramural games, right?
Oh, yeah.
And like
Sure.
you said, basketball and all that.
Softball and football.
I remember it was in the fall, 1985. It was touch football we were playing, and it was, I believe, the senior class versus the faculty.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
There used to be a tradition.
Right. And so somehow or another, I found myself as quarterback for the seniors. And all I remember was throwing the ball to my target, and out of nowhere, like smoke, Father Greg comes and intercepts the ball and runs it back
The right way?
for a touchdown.
you
Yeah,
right-
for a touchdown. So
was it actually a pick six
yes,
all the way?
yes.
Really, I don't remember that.
And so my classmates didn't talk to me for the rest of the afternoon, but I'm sure it was memorable for you and uplifting as faculty.
I used to love to play defense. I used to love to play linebacker position, and
I thought you were going to say it's touch football and he took you out on the play.
But not one thing about it. I do remember now that game, and you were the quarterback on the team.
Yes,
I'm positive you
Yeah.
were the quarter, and you had a good arm. You looked over the field well, and you were good at spotting the receivers because the rush was coming, and you got rid of that ball.
Yeah.
And also you were quick. You were fast.
Yeah. Well, I pitched for Quigley North here.
I forgot you
So-
pitched for Quigley
and
North.
then I pitched for under the coaching of Father Don Nevins at
Oh,
the time.
sure.
Yes.
So,
I remember. It's funny. So we're going. That football game was back almost 38 years ago.
Yeah.
Now I'm glad I'm walking, let alone doing a pick six on an interception.
Okay, guys, let's get back to the
Oh, yeah, I
question.
forgot. Yeah, I
the
forgot about
question.
the
Oh,
program.
there's a question.
Yeah.
What brought you to this position? That's a little bit of your background.
Sure.
But maybe could you just give folks an idea of, when I think about it, so you're a Niles
Yes.
graduate, I'm a Niles graduate.
So am I.
All three of us are, and we're sitting here years later still committed to the church.
Right. Well, it's interesting. So I spent 10 years working for the federal government. I worked for the Census Bureau. So I worked on the 1990 census, and I was about to work on the 2020 census when I realized, okay, this is not what I wanted to do. At that time, I went back to grad school. I got my MBA, which actually has a connection to our speaker for the speaker series. I graduated, I believe it was 1996. I received my MBA. At that time, I ran into Bishop Conway, and Bishop Conway said, "Hey, there's a position open at the Archdiocese, if you'd like to interview for that." And so it was for his chief of staff position. So I interviewed. Sister Anita won out.
Sure.
A phenomenal woman. But I ended up. They offered me the position of the office for the Millennium. So the Millennium Office helped celebrate the 2000th anniversary of Christ's birth, right? So I started in 1997 and to the year 2000. So I think we jammed about 20 years of ministry in those 3 years. We had a number of activities. The highlight was
Soldier
the
Field?
Mass at Soldier Field.
Yeah.
The Field of Faith.
In the rain.
In the rain, yes. It was, nicknamed the Flood of Faith, of
Yes.
course. It's so much so that we had reports of people on buses being turned around because the expressways were being shut down.
Wow.
That's how much of a downpour
It was a
there
torrential that day.
Yeah.
It was coming in sheets at
Exactly.
Soldier Field.
At Soldier Field. And then subsequently, we had another celebration up at Mundelein, as Mark reminded me. It was called the Way of Faith, and it was a beautiful celebration of Mundelein and the beautiful lake and the road around it. They had just repaved it, and it just looked absolutely gorgeous.
So when Bishop Conway offered the position and said you should apply, was this at 155 East Superior?
It was. Mm-hmm.
And then you were working with what department?
My own little office of Monsignor Wayne Prist.
Sure.
And I reported directly to the Cardinal.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back, you've been connected with the Archdiocese going back to 96,
Yes.
27 years ago.
97, yeah.
So you got the MBA, and you could have gone corporate.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What
And my background was marketing and finance.
Yeah, so what?
Yeah.
Why the church?
You know what? There was always this yearning. You know, you always hear about that. But in my case, it was true. I wanted to kind of, give back.
Well, you spent 8 years in the seminary.
I did.
4 years Quigley,
Yeah.
and 4 years Niles College.
And prior to that, I was, I was the altar boy of the year at St. Mary of the Lake. I mean, I answered phones at the rectory.
Did you really?
Did
Yeah.
you know Sister Joan and Honora?
I did.
Yeah, weren't they wonderful?
They were,
Well,
absolutely.
and Joan's still around. Honora passed away, but they were co-principals. They did a beautiful
Yeah.
job. at St. Mary's of the
Absolutely,
Lake.
In fact,
absolutely.
both of them at one time served at Mary Seat of Wisdom
Mhm.
in Park Ridge, I think.
Oh,
I'm almost
okay.
positive. We're getting to the topic here.
Boy,
because
this is like,
this is
my
this is like
Al's life.
That's
well,
all right.
well,
That's
the fact that
good.
we connect, we go back. My gosh, we go back 50 years
Mhm.
because we met you back. We'll take it back. I met you in '71 when you were. Sure, you were in '75. I mean, in '83. Sure, you're going back 40-some years. So, well, listen. Tell us about this whole Hispanic young adult speaker series geared toward college seniors and young professionals.
Well, just, truth be told, the idea came from Father John Cusick, who used to be the former director of the young adult ministry here in the Archdiocese for many years. He started something called the First Friday Club of Chicago. Anyone familiar with that?
It
Oh,
still goes on
sure.
today.
It still goes on today. I was there a few months ago. They had Father Greg Boyle.
Oh,
I don't know if you're
sure.
familiar.
From
He's a
California.
Jesuit, works with convicts and those that are imprisoned or have been imprisoned, and a lot of people, in our society, there's no place for them, and so he not only walks the walk, he talks the talk. He does it all. He provides jobs for them. He provides training for them and all
Don't
that.
they own the bakery?
They own a bakery. They do tattoo removal. They do T-shirts. They do all sorts of.
It's amazing.
It's an industry. It's an industry, and it's a very the story is so compelling. And anyway, I went. My boss invited me, and I went. And I'd actually read his book as well, and that I think it's called Tattoos on the Heart. And it's a very compelling story. But my point of this whole thing is that First Friday Club brings you close to people like that are doing things that are inspiring, that bring us closer to God, right? And so the whole concept of First Friday Club is to bring people in, feed them, provide an inspiring speaker, for conversation later on, and perhaps a little bit of networking, and then off you go, to your lives. And that's what I want to replicate for young Hispanic adults. Why young Hispanic adult professionals?
We're going to talk more about that after a break. Mark, take us to break. We're going to continue that, Hal. That's great. That's excellent.
Sure. WNDZ, 750 AM, Catholic Chicago, 312-255-8408. Or you can go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. When we come back, Al Castillo will be explaining and inviting us to creating a work-life balance event Tuesday, June 20th, 2023 at Tufano's Vernon Park Tap. I wonder, do they take charge cards now, or is it still cash over there?
Oh, I'm doing a site visit today, so we'll
them.
find out.
Yeah, we'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned.
Caring adults make all the difference in the lives of adolescents. Catholic Charities understands this, and our mentorship programs provide a free opportunity for young adults to spend time with volunteers who genuinely care about them. This program is ideal for youth aged 9 through 12 who may need support navigating the challenges of childhood and early adolescence. Our amazing volunteers serve as friends who help youth recognize their strengths and empower them to reach their full potential. Catholic Charities conducts a thorough background check on every volunteer, and our program coordinator closely monitors and supports every relationship. Mentoring is a fun after-school program that can help young adults build confidence and enjoy fun activities with their peers, too. To learn more, visit CatholicCharities.net or call 312-655-7970 in Cook County and 847-782-4224 in Lake County. We're connecting youth with great role models. Join us today.
This is year 44 for me teaching. When I started here, there were teachers here that had taught me when I was a student. Now I'm the old person. Right now, I teach junior high math. I love when kids find what I'm teaching to be fun and they get it. I see that light bulb go off and it's a thrill. People are always amazed. What? You're here for 44 years? It's hard for me to believe, frankly. I love what I do. Every summer I think, oh, I miss the classroom. Even on the weekends, I think I can't wait to get back on Monday and teach those quadratic equations.
Shape the next generation of leaders. Teach. Apply today at archchicago.org/schooljobs.
For more than 20 years, Catholic Charities Adult Protective Services has been advocating for seniors who are the victims of abuse, neglect, confinement, or financial exploitation. With our partners at local, city, and state agencies, our trained case managers follow through on every concern that is brought to our attention in a cooperative way to ensure that our seniors are safe and protected. According to the Illinois Department on Aging, last year nearly 21,000 cases of elder abuse were reported in Illinois. Of these, only 5% were reported by seniors themselves. So raising awareness is an important part of this issue. If you are concerned about a senior you know, call 800-252-8966. That's 800-252-8966. With your help, we can stop elder abuse and look out for the seniors in our lives.
We're back, WNDZ, 750 AM, Catholic Chicago, 312-255-8408, or you can go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. We're with Al Castillo. We're talking about Hispanic Young Adult Professional Speaker Series. We're talking about June 20th. We're talking about Tufano's Vernon Tap. We're talking about a 1-hour session featuring Rick Estrada. Where'd the idea come from?
Well, all great ideas are inspired by others, right? And so in this particular case, this was inspired by the First Friday Club of Chicago. As we were talking about before, First Friday Club is a 1-hour, in and out. In the middle, in that hour, there's a wonderful speaker, an opportunity to network, an opportunity to really think profoundly about an issue of the day, and then to kind of bring people closer to God in some way. So I wanted to kind of do that for young adult Hispanic professionals. Why young adult professionals? I don't know if either of you read the Chicago Catholic on a
yes.
regular basis.
Yes.
A few issues back, there was a study by the Pew Research Center, and the headline was U.S.-born Latinos now more likely to be nuns than Catholic, and that
Really?
was staggering. That just took me back. The subhead was the Pew finding share of Latinos identifying as Catholic dropped from 67% in 2010 to 43% in 2022.
Wow.
So we have this idea here
Whoa.
in this institution that Hispanics are Catholic, and by the way, I think I mentioned I worked for the Census Bureau for 10 years, so I know data. I worked in the data library for many, many years. And, we talk about surveys. Most national polls survey about 300 people, to kind of get an idea of a particular issue, how people think about it. This particular survey surveyed over 3,000 participants. So on a national level, all Latinos. And so I believe that this is a real concrete figure.
It's a tremendous sample size.
It is. It's a tremendous. It's tenfold of what a normal sample size
And
is.
are you saying a second generation Latino, or who were surveyed?
I didn't go into the specifics, but in general, so 4 out of 10 identify as Catholic now. Of all
That's
Latinos.
less than half.
Yes, exactly. It went from the majority of Latinos in the United States to less than half. Now, why this? It's been percolating in my mind, this idea of bringing young professional adults together. It's been in my mind for at least a decade. Why? Because I always felt that my parish, or we talked about this off air. I live in Westchester, Illinois. It's a predominantly white community. There are nothing specifically for Latinos in that vicinity or area. So I never felt connected in that particular way to my parish. I grew up on the north side. The north side had a very interesting mix of Latinos as well. None that I could really fully kind of connect with.
What parish was that?
That was St. Mary of the Lake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so 1 mile north of Wrigley
Who
Field.
was the pastor then?
John Rosemeyer.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Father John Rosemeyer. Father Mike Boehm was an associate
Yes,
back in the
Mike
day.
Boehm, ordained in the 70s.
Robert Coleman. Father
Bob
Robert
Coleman.
Sure.
Yeah.
Ordained in 78.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
had a lot of great
Good men.
great
Yeah,
guys
very
there.
good.
So this idea comes from the idea of I'm a second generation Hispanic here in the Chicago metropolitan area, and I needed a network to kind of be able to support me through my young adult situation. I mean, as a 21-year-old, we can all go back there, there's a lot going on in our lives. We're deciding our futures. We're, perhaps in relationships. We're starting new jobs. There's a lot of activity going on. The future is ahead of us, but yet, we need that support. We need that network.
Now,
of
what's
people.
very interesting, Alan, that is the speaker for this evening, Rick Estrada. When you were a senior at Niles College Seminary, Rick was a freshman. So
Yes.
he came on board in 1985 as a freshman, college freshman, as you were a senior, and so you graduated in 86. He graduated then 4 years later. He'd be class of 89.
Mm-hmm.
And have you remained friends these years?
We have, and when you're in college and you're an upperclassman,
You don't hang around with freshmen.
you don't hang around with freshmen.
No, you're kidding. You're slamming the football field.
Had I known that it was the class of Bishop Ron Hicks and Bishop Bob Casey, I
Yeah,
probably
you were
would
nicer.
have,
And Monsignor Denny Lyle.
Monsignor
That's
Denny
right.
Lyle, yes. I probably would have treated them a little differently. But anyway, as it stands, fast forward a decade or so, Rick Estrada and I found ourselves in the same graduate class. We went back to UIC to get our masters, our MBAs.
Wow.
And so we spent a good almost 2 years together, getting to know one another, studying together, and finding out about or kind of reacquainting ourselves with our lives. So since then, we've kept in touch. Since then, he has become the CEO of a social service agency, one of the largest in the Chicago metropolitan area, called the Chicago Family Metropolitan Services. They have roughly 1,100 employees, both full-time and part-time, and they serve over 136,000 families.
So are they like a version of Catholic Charities?
Yes.
But for the city of Chicago?
For the city of the metropolitan area of Chicago.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, this is nothing to sneeze at. This gentleman is very successful. He's been their CEO for quite a few years. And so I thought of him as being to kind of kick off this series and to ask him the question, how do you do it?
Mm-hmm.
How do you maintain the quality of service in one of the largest social service agencies in the Chicago metropolitan area, and also balance that with your home life?
That is an incredible, important topic. How do you balance work with family?
Mm-hmm.
Because the demands upon people today is phenomenal. And how do you keep it balanced? I mean, the great line is, I never met anyone on their deathbed who said to me, gee, Greg, I wish I spent more time at the office.
Exactly.
Never. I wish I had more time with my family, with friends, take a walk. But there's so many demands put upon us. We actually have run out of time here. So for a moment, Al, again, Tuesday, June 20th, 6:30, 7:30 p.m., Tufanos, Vernon Park Tap, 1073 West Vernon Park Place. How do they get to register?
They have to register. They can go to the website consejohispano.com. That's the website. But there's also a flyer. If you're watching us via podcast, there's a QR code there. My phone number is 312-534-7880.
One more time on the number.
312-534-7880.
Okay.
And they can call me to register.
Free valet parking.
Is there?
Yes.
Okay. By the way, the calamari is on us.
Oh.
So there will be a full dinner. It's free, 2 drinks, and it'll be a wonderful
June
hour
20th,
together.
6:30, 7:30 p.m. in and out on time.
If you are a young adult Hispanic professional, I invite you to come. If you know someone who is a young adult Hispanic professional, please invite them to register.
I want to thank in a very special way Al Castillo, who is Director of Hispanic Communications at Dive Chicago. Al, I see you all the time with the radio and TV in the office and with the Cardinal. And so it's good to be able to sit down for a half hour, the three of us, and to be able to catch up.
Thanks.
Keep up your great ministry. So you're listening to Catholic Chicago on WNDZ 750 AM. Father Greg Sakowicz, Mark Teresi, 312-255-8408. You can also get us on youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. Stay with us. We'll be back after these messages. And again, do not touch that dial.
Catholic Charities Refugee Resettlement Program has been especially busy this year, assisting individuals and families who have fled dangerous situations in their homeland, including Afghanistan and the Ukraine. The Refugee Resettlement Team helps with everything they need to start to rebuild their lives in a new country, including housing, employment, clothing, food, English classes, and referrals for legal and immigration services. The refugees are tremendously grateful for the compassion and practical help they're receiving, and they're giving back and helping each other plan for a brighter, safer future. Volunteer opportunities are currently available for those who would like to be family mentors and tutors so children and adults can practice English. To learn more about these rewarding opportunities, call 312-655-7096. That's 312-655-7096.
The cemetery ministry is a core ministry of our Catholic faith tied to the corporal works of mercy. It's comforting to know that our Catholic cemeteries are caring for the remains of our loved ones awaiting the resurrection. There are 44 Archdiocese of Chicago Catholic cemeteries willing to help you in your time of loss. Call 708-449-6100 or visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org. Catholic Cemeteries, serving the Catholic community since 1837.
You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Thanks for letting us be part of your morning. Now again, Catholic Chicago.
Welcome back to Catholic Chicago on WNDZ 750 AM, 312-255-8408. Also get us on youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. Father Greg Zakowicz and Mark Teresi. Mark, what a wonderful half hour with Al Castillo. To think that we go back almost 40 years together with him from the college seminary. We were all much younger, but...
Well, and look at how the seminary connected all of us to the mission of the church.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Exactly.
it's acted out.
It's well put. It all connected us together, and here, all these 40 years later, we're still connected.
Yeah.
It's somehow in service to the Lord. The mission is to be Christ-centered, and to be able to walk together this journey of faith. And we all realize, Mark, life flies by too quickly.
Oh.
Here it is already, June 8th. We're approaching 2023, almost half over.
How about that?
Memorial Day was a week or two weeks ago. We're going to blink, it'll be July 4th, Labor Day, and the fall. And so we have a second half great program lined up. We have three great guests, Larry Campbell, Dr. Alfredi Weedham, and Dwight Hearns, who've been all involved with nonviolence works and second annual Safety Town Hall gathering sponsored by St. Josephine, Bahita Parish. So to Larry, Alfredi, and Dwight, welcome to the program this morning. How are you all doing? Good morning.
Good morning, Father.
Good morning.
Now,
morning, Father.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mark.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Dr. Alfredi Weedham, you look younger and younger every time you're on the program.
Oh, Father, that's just the illusion. It's just, it's that optical illusion on Zoom.
You're very humble. Now, Larry, are you in the hospital right now?
Yes, Father Greg, I am.
It's amazing.
I'm hoping to get released today or tomorrow. So,
in all the years I have done, and we've done radio, we've never had a guest from the hospital bed. That's a incredible tribute to you, Larry, even in the hospital to be part of the program. So now, for many years...
Program, Father Greg.
Pardon me?
You wouldn't miss your program.
Well,
no matter what.
Larry's very dedicated. In fact, with Alfredi and Larry and also Philip, been on many, many times. In fact, Dwight has been on the program before, and I'm trying to think it was a couple of years ago, but it's always been for non-violence works. Mark?
Just a little. Before YouTube, Father Greg would come in his pajamas here.
That's before YouTube here. And so we have the second annual Safety Town Hall gathering sponsored by St. Josephine, Bahita Parish. Now, I'm assuming this all connects with non-violence works. And who wants to maybe talk a little bit about that for a moment?
Father, it's a little broader. Nonviolence Works will be represented, but this town hall is sponsored by St. Josephine Bakhita's Social Justice Committee, and we take on the issues that the members of the committee are most interested in following Catholic social teaching. And this year, for the second time, we are hosting a summer safety town hall in which we're bringing together members of the community as broadly and representing the institutions that are most involved and responsible for questions of safety for all our families. So we have religious institutions represented, politicians, local politicians, our ward and our state offices. We have 2 police districts represented, and a multitude, actually 8 or 10 different community organizations that are active in South Shore. So we want to be able to think together and come up with better solutions together. And this is our second year where we are trying to develop this kind of community orientation.
Larry, do you want to give folks a little bit of your background and why you're in a hospital bed and so invested in getting the message out on this?
Well, I think it's so important for communities, especially Catholic communities, to be involved in making our communities safer and to build relationships between each other, our community activists, our police department, our politicians, all for what we're trying to do. Was Father Greg talked about Memorial Day. We know that was not a good weekend. Last weekend was not a good weekend either, and we're trying to make a difference. And this is why the Social Justice Committee at Josephine Bakhita came up with this project. We were very successful last year. Even when we had a driving rainstorm, we still had over 100 people show up, and we're hoping certainly to multiply that this year.
Now, along those lines, Dwight, what is your involvement with this whole program or mission?
I'm working with both Larry and Alfredi, and I have an interest as well. I live in the South Shore community on the southeast side of the city, and I'm very, very concerned about the numbers that have been posted over the last 2 weeks. So I have a vested interest. I'm also a member of St. Josephine Bakhita. I've been a member for a length of time and a lifelong Catholic. These numbers that are reported on a weekly basis are stunning. And we really cannot rely just wholly on our police department. We must take accountability ourselves and work in conjunction with the police department. Perhaps that can be a better solution.
Now, Dwight, are you from Chicago, born and raised?
Yes.
What parish as a boy?
My original parish was St. Anselm's.
Oh, sure. And where'd you go to high school?
I went to De La Salle.
De La Salle. What class were you, by the way?
75.
Oh, you're a youngster. And so which means then, being like you, Chicago born and raised, you've seen all these changes over the years, and things are not getting better.
No, they're not. They are spiraling, and it's unfortunate. As members of the community, we must grab hold of what we can, what makes sense, and work together towards some kind of end, that resolution that can give us less reported numbers of homicides.
Maybe we'd start with Larry, but I'd ask each of you this question. You're so involved, so active in terms of changing the culture. What's your dream for these gatherings, Larry, and then maybe Alfredi, and then Dwight?
Well, I think, Mark, that one of the issues that we've had with Nonviolence Works is when we started training 5 or 6 years ago, we go to parishes which are not part of the inner city, and they would say, "Well, this is not our problem. We don't get affected by violence."
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as we well know, during the last couple of years, every community in Chicago has been affected by violence. So I would hope that we would have an opportunity to help people understand what nonviolence is about. And then the other thing is building relationships between ourselves and other people in the community.
No,
And Alfredi, the same question for you, Alfredi.
Larry pointed out the importance of reaching people who think that violence is not their problem because they are somehow living in a part of the city where it's not so in your face. But what we've seen is that, in fact, it goes everywhere. If we ignore problems in one area, we will see it develop in other areas. And, Father Greg and Mark, we see most visibly street violence. And that's what worries people the most because it's what's most present, right? And that's what gets reported on the news. But there's a tremendous amount of violence in the home and in schools that is much harder to pinpoint. It's much harder to report. It's much harder to identify as, okay, here we got this problem and we have this program that's going to address you or this group easily. Right? That's not the case. And hence the understanding of the broad-based nature of violence in our modern society has to be brought to the attention of everybody. That's why we're bringing the broad constituents and the broad resource people together so that we can talk together about different ways in which we are able to address the problem.
That's great.
And, maybe what we've done in the past hasn't always been the right direction. Maybe we need to think about reconceiving the way in which we address problems.
And we need to be able to talk about it and keep the discussion moving forward. And Dwight, your take on it, so thank you, Alfredi.
We are all human, and we're subject to the spirit of crime that happens in communities. If there are not issues that are immediately occurring in my community, I still get feedback because that is a demoness spirit that is throughout the city. It affects everyone, and I believe in some kind of way. I think that we should have maybe not just our church, but other Catholic churches on the South Side everywhere develop some kind of a program, something similar to what we're doing. Use ours as something of a base, modify it, make it work for yourselves, and grab hold of this issue where everyone can contribute towards the solution. I think that we should have been or could have been harder on crime over the past 3 or 4 years. But research tells us to some degree that after a pandemic or epidemic, there is some form or fashion or increasing numbers of crime.
We're going to take a little break, but in accord with what you're saying, Dwight, this is 6 years ago. We're in East Rogers Park. I'm hearing some noise at 2 a.m, and I'm sitting in an easy chair in our living room, and the police knock on the door. There was a random shooter on Peterson Avenue. They think your house was struck. A bullet in our front door and a bullet in the window near where I was sitting. That's called random violence, and that's another issue that once it becomes close to your home, you become much more aware of what needs to be done. WNDZ, 750 AM, Catholic Chicago, 312-255-8408, or you can go to YouTube facebook.com/CatholicChicago. We'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned.
At Catholic Charities, we want to remind you that we are here for anyone who is a victim of domestic violence or anyone who has a concern about someone they think may be a victim. Domestic violence affects millions of people each year, both women and men, of every race, religion, culture, and economic status. It includes physical, psychological, and emotional abuse, inflicted in both subtle and overt ways. The impact on children can be devastating. If you or someone you know are victims of domestic violence and you are looking for a place for healing and recovery, call us at 773-935-3434 in Cook County and 224-430-4977 in Lake County. A safer, happier tomorrow can begin today.
I am a seminarian.
The church needs compassionate and well-trained priests to help guide each of us through life.
What inspires me, what draws me always to the priesthood is continue to see priests be a beacon of hope for other people.
You can play a part in the education of these young men as they prepare for a life of service to others.
I want to be that beacon of hope too, and it sets my heart on fire.
To support our seminarians, make your gift at archchicago.org/seminarian fund or call 312-534-7959.
Catholic Charities has had the privilege of helping people in need in Cook and Lake County for more than 100 years. We would like to take this opportunity to thank our frontline workers who, despite the unprecedented challenges of the past 2 years, continue to excel at their jobs every day. From the warehouse staff members who pack boxes of nutritious foods for low-income seniors, to the dedicated WIC employees who have remained open for families with children under the age of 5, to our volunteers and restaurant partners who ensure that meals are available for those experiencing hunger, to our service coordinators and our professional counselors who continue their vital work in innovative ways, to our food pantry staff, and to all those who work at Catholic Charities Call Center, finding solutions for every person who reaches out to us for help. Charity is at the heart of all you do, and we salute you.
We're back. WNDZ 750 AM, Catholic Chicago, 312-255-8408. You go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. Father Greg Sakowitz here, Mark Teresi here. We're talking about the Safety Town Hall meeting that's coming up. Larry Campbell, encouragement and direction from other parishes. How is this event helpful in terms of inviting other parish leaders to come and learn about how to present a safety town hall meeting?
Mark, anybody who is interested in nonviolence, helping their community, can come to our meeting. We will certainly be happy to give them information of how we develop this. And as Dwight said before, you know, every parish is different, but yet we're all the same, that we all have the same issues here, and they can tweak it depending upon what they want to do. The nice thing is that this doesn't, other than time, which it did a lot of time for us to call the various invitees, et cetera. But in terms of cost, there really is very limited cost in terms of how a parish runs this. So we are just encouraging anybody who wants to come out and see it. I know all three of us have tried to contact various community churches in our area, Catholic churches, Christian churches, etc., to get more people involved. And Father Greg, if you wouldn't mind, can Alfredi mention some of the invitees who are coming?
Sure, that'd be great. Alfredi has people who are coming.
Oh, good. And also, I also let people know it's this Saturday, June 10th, from noon until 2 p.m. at 71st and Jeffrey. Is that correct?
The parish is at 71st, 72nd and Jeffrey, Father. However, the venue for this event is at our sister church, Our Lady of Peace, at 79th and Jeffrey.
Okay, so then again, Alfredi, again, it's Saturday, June 10th, this Saturday, between noon and 2, and it's going to be held at Our Lady of Peace?
At Our Lady of Peace,
and that's located where again, Alfredi?
79th and Jeffrey,
and now
right on the corner. Very
and now
easy to see.
It says here, please call our parish office 773-363-1700. Is that correct? For more information?
Yep. For more information.
So 773-363-1700 if you're interested in hosting an event, and leave a message for the Social Justice Committee. A question for you, Alfredi, is you've been involved in this area for a long time. I know you're a professor at Loyola University, Chicago. Is what keeps you going in this area when we pick up the newspaper every day? More violence, more shootings, domestic violence at home, violence in school, gangs on the street. What keeps you going and not giving up?
Thank you for asking that, Father. I'm a sociologist, and part of our purview is looking at issues of social problems and social change. And when I talk to my students and I say, is everyone satisfied with the way our world is going? Is everybody content that their lives are going in the right direction? So nobody says yes, nobody. So we know that the world is filled with discontent. And part of my field, part of my commitment, intellectually, academically, and spiritually, is to contribute to making the kinds of social changes that I think we all want.
That's good.
I grew up, I spent my adult life, well, let me back up. I grew up mostly on the north side of Chicago, but I spent my adult life in South Shore and raised my family there. That's my community. And that's the commitment that I've made. I can see changes happening if people are willing to collaborate. And part of what we're trying to do is bring people to a safety town hall where a conversation can continue on how to collaborate, share resources, reach out to people, reach out particularly to our youth.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Thank you, Alfredi.
Dwight, why should leadership in parishes around the Archdiocese, no matter what neighborhood, no matter what area, why should they come to this safety town hall meeting?
They can come to the meeting and understand more of what has been done, because this is a follow-up from last year's meeting, a follow-up as to try and understand what has worked last year, what isn't working, what maybe we could do better, and maybe any new suggestions as to what we can execute this year so that we can measure them to come back next year and measure against.
And maybe along those lines, Dwight, the same question that I asked Alfredi. You're Chicago born and raised. You've seen a lot in all your years. What keeps you going in this area instead of throwing the towel in and saying, I give up, this is making no difference? Which it is, but it's always to take the attitude, I'm tired of this, and
let somebody else do it.
And let somebody else do it, I'm walking away.
Some other people are doing it. and it's not getting done. We're still seeing numbers going upward. So we should get involved ourselves and contribute to their efforts and other people's efforts, and then maybe we can start seeing results. Just complaining to myself, others, my friends, that's not getting us anywhere. We need to put that energy, turn that energy into positive energy towards a direction where maybe we can see some tangible results.
Now,
if not us, then who?
Right.
And if not now, when?
When, yeah.
So, Larry, you're going to get better and you're going to be at this event?
I hope so.
Oh, good.
I hope, Mark, that today the doctors decide to release me. So yes, I'll be at the event.
So come and see Larry.
That's right.
Now,
you're one tough customer, Larry.
How about it? Now, as you look at it's really all three of you, a life commitment to this issue. Maybe we'd start with Larry. What change have you seen that gives you hope?
Well, it's interesting, Mark. I have time in the hospital, so I'm reading a new biography on Dr. King, and it just gives me another facet of understanding what he went through in terms of nonviolence to make changes in policy and make changes in people's hearts. So, certainly, we also use Jesus Christ, and we use Gandhi as examples too of nonviolence. So I just think that we need to reinvigorate ourselves back to when Dr. King in the 60s was in the 50s, to reinvigorate nonviolence as a definite facet of every people's lives to improve. And again, I know there's a lot of problems, but as everybody's mentioned, if good people don't do anything, nothing's ever going to get done.
Good response. Alfredi, same question. What gives you hope moving forward?
When I've looked at biographies of great leaders in the past, FDR, Abraham Lincoln before him, they all had tremendous challenges that their times foisted on them. But they endured because they were committed to a vision. And in order to make the kinds of changes that they, as I said, were foisted on them, they had to endure. Mm-hmm. They could not sit back. They could not give up. And I think that it should inspire all of us that no matter what your challenges are, personal, psychological, physical, spiritual, intellectual, everybody has an obligation to participate, because that's the only way that we will move forward.
And that same question for you, Dwight, to close the program.
I'm hopeful that we can overcome. God is within us. His Holy Spirit is within all of us. He wants us to work together. And if we work together with His Holy Spirit, there is nothing we cannot overcome. I think He really wants to bless us with coming together, taking control back over our communities. It has been much, much too long for us living under these conditions that this is not endorsed by God Himself.
I like that way to end the program. Again, this Saturday, June 10th, noon until 2 p.m. at Our Lady of Peace. And for information for a phone number would be
773-363-1700.
Very good. And I want to thank in a very special way our guest this morning, Larry Campbell, who's in the hospital. So, Larry, our prayers are with you to be released today, to be part of Saturday. A special thanks to Dr. Alfredi Weedham and also Dwight Hearns. May God bless all of you. You're doing a great job. Thank you. You're a sign of inspiration for all of us.
Sure.
Great to be with you and to see you. Special thanks to co-host Mark Teresi. Great work of our producer engineer all by himself today, Brian Hockey Hitman Brock. To our listeners, may God bless all of you. Have a blessed day and wonderful weekend.
Join us every Monday through Friday at this time for Catholic Chicago. You can stream our programs live or listen to past programs by visiting our website, archchicago.org, and clicking on Radio TV. And please connect with Catholic Chicago on social media.